Welcome to the Bald Brad Show. In this Sunday episode, we are doing things a little bit different here because I have watched over 10 plus hours of Piers Morgan interviewing various pro-Palestinian men and women. And as somebody that has no skin in the game, dog in the fight, I've noticed a specific trend or theme among all these people that are being interviewed in their answers to the questions that Piers Morgan is proposing. And I want to see if you can catch the theme or trend yourself. And rather than us sitting together for 10 plus hours and watching every single interview in full length, I've just screen grabbed various segments from various interviews that kind of highlight what I'm seeing. And I encourage you all to watch the interviews yourself in full length to get the full perspective. But again, these are just a few various segments. So to lead it off here, Piers is talking to a pro-Palestinian YouTuber about the heinous crimes that were committed by Hamas on October 7th. And we'll kick it off with that.
Goodness, where were you when you heard about what happened on October the 7th?
I was at home.
What was your reaction when you heard?
I was actually very sickened by it. And this is something I do want to put on the table because I think it's fair for people to know this. In our religion, we do not believe, okay, as a Muslim, I am a Muslim, and I do not believe in the killing of any man, woman, or children. Non-combatants. That is not despite the religious teachings. That is because of the religious teachings. So in terms of condemning Hamas, and just jumping straight into it, I condemn not only Hamas, but any other entity, okay, wherein it's proven that this has been done, that the killing of combatants has been done. Therein, I condemn any party that does it. Any party that kills people or strikes at people where it's more probable than not that it will hit a civilian target, I condemn them, and that's why I condemn the IDF. Because when they strike, they know that it's more probably than not going to hit civilian targets. They know that the majority of civilians, or the majority of people that are going to be affected are civilians. We know that from the various operations that have been conducted. We know that because now in Gaza you find that there is a blockade, as you know, for 17 years, but also they're stopping them from electricity, water, which is a war crime under Geneva 4 of the Geneva Convention, Protocol 4 of the Geneva Convention. So this is something
So I want to pause it there because at a later point in the interview, Piers Morgan brings up kind of the war crimes, just as this gentleman has done, about the IDF and the Israeli forces in the past, and brings up the idea of, look, men are being massacred in the streets. Women are being raped and killed as well in the streets and in their homes. And then babies are being beheaded, lit on fire, and just killed as well. And as you heard him say at the beginning, he does condemn Hamas. And again, that whole thing has to go into the theme that I am seeing here. But let's see this exchange about people getting raped, killed, things like that.
I think surely we can agree that what happened on October the 7th was a war crime. I mean, when people are taking grandmothers and executing them, kidnapping young children, when they're killing babies in their cribs, we can agree that's war crime, right?
Okay, babies...
Can we?
Surely, of course, 100%.
Right.
But babies in the crib, sorry, what was the evidence for that?
You don't believe that happened?
Sorry, CNN, the White House, Sky News, which you work for, all say...
I don't work for Sky News.
Well, your thing...
I did work at CNN. I saw one reporter who retracted it because she wasn't sure about the source.
It's unconfirmed by the White House.
But then the Daily Telegraph and the Jerusalem Post and other sources then did publish pictures,
CNN,
which indisputably show babies have been killed.
No, it showed one baby who's been charred, and that picture has been put up on Twitter and has been refuted by many people saying that it's actually AI.
That's completely untrue.
That is true. What's your source? What's your source?
There's been a thorough investigation into the claim that was put up there by some rogue person on Twitter that it was AI. It has been completely disproven.
Okay, let me ask you a question.
That picture, which was published on the Telegraph, is a genuine, legitimate picture.
What is your source?
Are you seriously arguing that babies weren't killed?
No, I didn't say that.
Well, what are you saying?
I'm saying, give me a source.
Yeah.
You know full well you've been fired from the Daily Mirror for fake images. So you know full well about the
I didn't accept they were faked.
Exactly. The UK government did.
Yeah, they did.
So with that in mind, again, there's 10 plus hours of footage, but I just want to present to you various parts of different segments to showcase this trend and theme. Begin with, he condemned Hamas. And then now it's rolling into, well, these images aren't real. They're AI generated. It's fake. It's false. Hamas isn't really charring babies in his phrase. It's not really happening. It goes a step further and talks about how Hamas was raping women. And then he goes and asks, well, what's the evidence for that? So he keeps kind of underskirting the actions of Hamas while also at the same time condemning it. But then using the definition of what he uses as terrorism of condemning Hamas, he's also applying to the IDF. And so we have another gentleman here from another interview that's being asked about October 7th as well, and kind of talking about hostages, the bombings on Gaza. And let's just kind of play out what he has to say.
It will be different. And the thing is, I am so glad in the introduction that you mentioned the Iraq war. I applaud you, Piers, for saying that, because you were honest about it. You said that spreading lies like WMDs made people look at those people as less of humans, and they would accept the death of 1 million Iraqi, whether by sanctions or by invasion, right? You are a good man. This is amazing. And you know what is similar? Is when you spread the lies of 40 decapitated babies, although it was refuted. So what happens when people hear that, killing babies is horrible. But when you say decapitated 40 babies, you are planting a certain image
with a certain
trigger in people's mind.
Who has said that? Who has said 40?
Who has said that?
Who has said that?
40 decapitated.
Who has said that?
You have repeated.
No, I haven't.
What?
I've never said that.
You haven't said on your show 40 decapitated babies?
Never.
Ben Shapiro didn't say it?
No.
Ron DeSantis didn't say
Nobody
it?
has said
it. Okay, Pierre.
No.
It is kind of funny the fact that this guy's talking about image and perception, but yet is spreading falsehoods and spreading a perception that is false. So I'll let him continue. It's just the irony of it is just astonishing.
Nobody said it?
No.
Oh, okay. Okay, maybe I am wrong. Decapitated. Here's
you're
the thing.
wrong. I've never said that.
The thing, what happened, no, you're wrong. But the thing is, when Iraq, but the thing is, the same thing is happening in Iraq. Ben Shapiro once tweeted, not even about Gaza, about the West Bank, when Israel continued to build the illegal settlement. He said, 2017, Israel likes to build things, and Arabs, not Palestine, not Hamas, Arabs like to bomb crap and live in open sewage.
Yeah, I thought that was very
the Israeli defense minister, he said, those are human animals. And the thing is, Ben Shapiro should know better, because, long before the Holocaust,
Pay attention to that phrase. I want to go back because I want you to listen to it, because, again, it builds on the trend and theme that I'm seeing here about Hamas being called animals, but he's correlating somebody calling Hamas animals to the Palestinian people. So I just want to go back a few seconds so you can hear that.
The Israeli defense minister, he said, those are human animals. And the thing is, Ben Shapiro should know better, because, long before the Holocaust, before Jewish people were thrown in the gas chambers, the Nazi propaganda called them rats. Now, as a human being, I will never accept that another human being being thrown into a gas chamber, but a rat, kill 10. Kill 1,000, 3,500. They are son of a bitch. They are human animals who live in open sewage and decapitate babies. And because of that propaganda, Mr. Morgan, that guy in Illinois, the 71 years old guy, he killed, stabbing the 6-year-old Palestinian kid in Illinois 26 times. And he used to play with him. They used to be friends. But he went in, marching into their apartment, stabbing his mother and killing him, shouting, all Muslims could die.
Yeah.
It took you 80 years to change one word from Jewish to Muslim. And then you transferred your guilt to us and took away our land.
Bassem, let me ask you a question.
That deal sucks, man.
Let me ask you a question.
Again, the conversation is about the terrorist attack from a terrorist organization on innocent civilians and citizens in Israel. And we constantly see in these interviews, these pro-Palestinian men so far condemning Hamas, but then kind of walking this fine line of converting what people have said about Hamas and attributing it to Palestinian people as a whole. So when we call Hamas savages, what I've tend to seen, or animals, is these people that are being interviewed are taking it as if people are talking about the Palestinian people, of which they're not. And the reason I want to bring awareness to this, and kind of the theme in general, is because I constantly see them being united as one in terms of how these people in these interviews are talking, that Hamas and the Palestinians are one. And from, again, somebody that's sitting back as a third party trying to learn from this whole thing, I'm finding it odd because I'm able to distinguish between the two. I don't think the Palestinians are terrorists, but I think Hamas is terrorist. So I can separate the two and distinguish of Hamas should be gone and Palestinian people should be able to live with the Israeli people in harmony. And that's what I would like. Now, would that happen? I don't know. But what I've seen is from the Palestinians don't seem to like the Israelis very much. And they seem to say they don't like Hamas, but yet Hamas is elected and they seem to put up with their crap. And in these interviews, they're correlating the strong words that are being used against Hamas as themselves. So when I hear that, I'm going, okay, well, you think you're clearly a part of Hamas because of the way that you're acting and you're talking. And just to kind of bring this all together, I'm going to play most of both these interviews from this lady because she straight out will not condemn Hamas at all. This one kind of really drives my point home on what I've seen. And there's a reason why I've saved these two interviews that we're going to watch to the very end, because it proves my point here of what I see between this trend and theme from these pro-Palestinian men and women. Let's roll it.
I don't represent the Arab League. I'm Palestinian, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Palestinians.
But why do you find it hard to just start, given this war, this latest war that's erupted, began with a terror attack on October the 7th, why is it hard to not just say, that was terrible?
I don't see you asking Regev if he condemned the slaughter of innocent civilians.
You can't do it, can you?
No, she can't, because she's the same woman who said every Zionist before they die should hear pop, pop before they die. So she probably agrees with the massacre. So why would she condemn them?
I think the media is part of manufacturing consent.
We're talking about you.
I'm speaking here, and I'm not interested in speaking to genocide deniers. The media is manufacturing consent for genocide against the Palestinian people, just like they did with the lie of the weapons of mass destruction that was used to justify the murder of over 1 million Iraqis. And there's been many lies that have been repeated all over the news, including on your show, where CNN had to rescind, and even you said in subsequent interviews about the 40 beheaded babies. I haven't seen a single shred of evidence. I have not seen a single shred of evidence about these accusations coming out.
I was actually deliberately misquoted. I've asked Nadine, can she say she was horrified by what happened on October?
She wasn't.
And she will not say that, which I think is very disappointing. Would you, in return, when you look at what's been happening in Gaza in the last 2 weeks, do you find that appalling, that the loss of young lives, of babies, of children, of women, innocent people who had nothing to do with the terror attacks?
Absolutely, 100%. Any death of innocent civilians should be condemned privately and publicly, and I cannot believe I have to say that. So yes, every children that is being collateral damage, every woman that's becoming collateral damage, my heart aches for them.
Why can't you do that?
I think we all agree that the loss of innocent life is sad, but I believe that the loss of innocent life wouldn't be an issue.
It's okay
if
when
Israel
it's the
didn't
Jews.
ethnically cleanse Palestine to begin with in 1948.
Well, they didn't, and that's
that is the source of this. To me, I go to the source of the issue.
But
what
that doesn't
happened on October 7th isn't the beginning of what Palestinians
but had you asked me, okay, but Nadine,
no, it is because not. The Palestinians.
Do you think Hamas wages genocide?
I believe that. Look at the numbers. Look at the Palestinians who have been killed.
Hamas's stated
We're not here to talk about any
is
specific
to eradicate
entities.
the Jewish people. It's their stated purpose.
The first thing that we should be fighting
that's literally
is for
genocide.
Palestinians to be returned home to their homeland.
That is literally,
talk about the specifics
Hamas's stated purpose is literally the definition of genocide. It's wiping out people based on their ethnicity.
The hostages who were released had otherwise to say.
Oh, the 2 out of 250. Let's applaud Hamas.
Do you think that Hamas should stay in power in Gaza?
I'm not here to talk about political organizations. No, I don't care about these questions because my people are being ethnically cleansed. Because I see the faces of 2,500 Palestinian children on social media every day, charred, mutilated, having chemical weapons against them. So this is going to be my priority on this show, just like any Palestinian around the world is speaking up for our cause.
You will also
stop using babies as human shields. Stop
it's
making
the most densely populated region in the world.
Yeah, but you will also know
2.3 million Palestinians live there. Half of them are homeless.
Let me respond to you.
This is a ridiculous argument.
My question is whether you think it is good for the Palestinian people that Hamas stay in charge, given the scale of the terror attacks they carried out, given the inevitable response that's come from Israel, with the inevitable loss of Palestinian lives, given the displacement now of hundreds of thousands of Palestinians out of the north of Gaza into the south, and who knows what's going to happen. The devastation to Gaza and to Gazan people has been unbelievable. and yet entirely predictable once Hamas decided to carry out the terror attack on the scale they did. I simply ask you, do you think that's a good thing for Palestine?
Is it not predictable that there will continue to be resistance to oppression as long as apartheid, occupation, ethnic cleansing, genocide?
It's wild. It actually gets worse, believe it or not. She won't condemn Hamas. And again, it goes back to the theme I've seen in multiple interviews. It's not just her, it's not just the other two gentlemen, where some of them will condemn Hamas, but they'll walk that fine line again of, well, I condemn Hamas, but if we're going to condemn Hamas, then we have to condemn the IDF and the Israeli forces for what they have done. But it seems like the Palestinian people have done no harm whatsoever. And that might very well be true. But again, there is a various distinction between the Palestinian people and Hamas. I could separate the two. I feel terrible for the Palestinian people, and I feel terrible for the Israelis. I don't feel terrible at all for Hamas that uses hospitals as sites, uses neighborhoods and various apartment buildings as headquarters, or to launch missiles from the top of them. So what they're doing is wrong. And we have another interview with this lady, again, giving an opportunity to condemn Hamas later on, like a week after that other interview, and she just can't do it.
9/11.
If you're happy to publicly condemn 9/11, why are you not happy to condemn Israel's 9/11? In fact, it was a lot worse statistically.
9/11 is Palestine's 24/7.
That's completely,
So what?
completely
Let me bring in Louise.
absurd.
Let me bring in Louise here.
I found it really shocking. I have to say that your organisation within our lifetime said that it was an act of resistance on October the 7th. I mean, that is the most un-Islamic thing I've ever heard in my life. Tying the hands of little children behind them, covering them in petrol and then burning them alive. Please tell me, what is resistance about such inhumane torture of kids?
Since you want to bring up Islam, in Islam we believe that the bloodshed of any innocent person is equal to killing all of humanity. And this is something that, we believe. Unfortunately, Palestinians are put in a situation where they're in an open-air prison. What we were celebrating that day is them breaking out of that open-air prison. I don't understand how the world expects
It's one of the
people.
reasons why you're not so keen to condemn what Hamas did on October the 7th, because you're fearful of publicly doing that. Are all Palestinians fearful of speaking out against Hamas, actually? Because there's a very good reason to be fearful.
No, there's no reason to be fearful. My life is not, if anything, living in New York City my whole life, there are many Zionist institutions, including the universities that I attended, and campaigns against me for being pro-Palestinian, including putting my face on trucks to drive around Midtown and Times Square for 2 weeks just this summer.
Yeah, because you're literally in support of a terrorist organization called Hamas, dude. That's probably why you've been getting pushback. And this kind of brings it all home. As somebody, again, that has no skin in the game, dog in the fight, what I've noticed in these interviews is some of these pro-Palestinian men and women are able to condemn Hamas, but then what they do is kind of walk this fine line thereafter of attributing Hamas and the Palestinian people as one, but also walking the fine line of supporting the actions of Hamas because of what Israel has done. And it kind of just morphs into well, then you support the actions of Hamas, even though you condemn them, because of the atrocities that Israel has or hasn't done against the Palestinian people. And the Palestinian people elected Hamas, and rather than rising up and unifying with the Israeli people to go against that terrorist organization, and maybe you guys can live in a two-state solution, which I don't think will work, or just live together as one, you have now presented yourself like this young lady of not condemning Hamas, in a nutshell, almost seems happy of what Hamas is doing to Israel, but at the same time walking that fine line again of, we think killing one innocent person is like killing everybody. So it's a weird thing to me. It almost seems like a reed in the wind of this whole thing of what happened with Israel on October 7th. I mean, people have gone so far as, what's the evidence for all this? What's the evidence that the people in the music festival did all these things? And that comes from this gentleman right here. In that same interview that we watched, he's like, where's your primary evidence that people were killed at this music festival, that all these people were killed? Well, not all of them were killed. Some of them lived. In the same way, nobody's saying 40 babies were beheaded. Some of them were. So it's kind of this nitpicky of words, and it's just a weird conversation sitting back to watch, because why can't you just say that you killing innocent babies and people is bad, regardless of whoever the hell does it, and lighting babies on fire alive is a bad thing. Beheading any baby is disgusting. Raping women, both young and old, is disgusting. But they will say it's bad, but then at the same time, like, well, Israel this, Israel that, it might be bad. Well, where's your evidence for it? So I don't know if maybe even my point is being clear on this, and I hope it is, but I want to see if you guys kind of notice the same thing of walking that fine line again of, well, I'm going to condemn Hamas, or sometimes not even condemn them. And, well, you know, what they kind of did was justified because of what Israel did to the Palestinian people. That's the way I keep seeing this. I ask of you maybe to go watch the full interviews yourself. I understand it's putting in a lot of time, but after, again, watching the 10 plus hours, that is my assessment of what I've seen. I'm curious on what you all think about this. I'd imagine there's going to be some differences in the comments and in the live chat, but thank you always so much for supporting the show. We do have a join tab down here. Become a true American patriot today. Become a member. Your money's going into good hands. Somebody that has your viewpoint. We do have a book called Trojan Horse, How the Left is Destroying America. You can find all of this at baldbrad.com along with our merch. I love you guys. You are patriots. I'll see you tomorrow here on The Bald Brad Show.